Improved performance. It's a good point at Vicarage Road. Why do I feel like this? Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the 59th episode of the From the Wi-Fi podcast. My name is Callum. I will be your host as always. I hope everyone is doing okay. Apologies, it's slightly light for those of you that are watching. Slightly sort of bright. Have to have the light on, otherwise, when the sun goes down in about 20 minutes, it's going to be hard to see. But there's a bit of a flash from the light above my head because I don't have any curtains at the moment. In this, we will get the audio, the visual sorted by the start of next season. I promise. It's been kind of moved all over the place over the first sort of year of the podcast or so. For those of you listening, it won't matter at all, I guess. About game at Vicarage Road on Monday. I feel as if I need to sort of separate two feelings, and I'm quite frustrated because on this podcast I don't often mention things that I know that I've been told in private, because it's from before I did this, right? I know a couple of people, and I don't like sort of putting people out there, and you don't get told things if you tell everybody. What I've been told is normally quite accurate, but it's separate to the performance of Vicarage Road. It's just sort of left me in a spot where I'm questioning certain things about the manager, really, about some of the squad management that's going on, about some of the decisions that have been made, and quite frankly about handing him over what's going to be a rather large summer check to spend this summer. So I'll try and sort of throw elements in, I guess, as we go through this, but obviously I can't divulge everything. But there'll probably be a way to read between certain lines that I have. But I think that's quite separate from the game on Monday, where I don't think we played too badly. We played against a team that's clearly on the beach, a team that has a lot of talent. The goal that they scored was by a player that's probably worth 25 million, 30 million in today's market. And Aaron Kunda looks like he's going to be a wonderful, wonderful footballer at a higher level in the Championship. Imran Loser, if he was sort of 3 or 4 years younger, would be 30 million quid's worth of player as well. Up there with Grimes and Hackney for best midfielder in the division for me, and it's a wonderful ball. And Aaron Kunda finishes it brilliantly. But they have players who can do that, and so it's always going to be difficult to play a team like that. But I thought we held our own, right? We played reasonably well. It was good to see. I thought Tyrese Campbell playing with the confidence that he played with, especially in that first sort of half. He made a mistake where he played a ball a little too short, and that led to an Aaron chance that Mannion saved well from. I thought Will acquitted himself pretty well. Came for a couple of balls, couple of good punches. None of the shots that he saved, other than that Rincunda one, should have been going in. They didn't go in, and that's a credit to him, recovering from the mistake against Bristol City. That was good to see. I thought that Lloyd Jones looked better than he did on Friday. I thought Murray Bell still had moments where he didn't look comfortable. Luke Chambers really struggled, but again, you're going up against Rincunda right on that side. Harry Clark was better again than I thought he was on Friday. Midfield was still poor, but I thought Cody, hope he recovers. I hope he's feeling better today. It sounds like he's knocked out clean. But I thought he brought a bit to that midfield that we need. It's pretty obvious that we need that steel plus some more athleticism next season. But Doc struggled actually quite a lot in the game, but was unlucky not to score. He hit the post. Carey was not great again, but actually defensively was a bit better. He had a couple of touches, took a couple of fouls. Dykes had a difficult job. It's Pollock, and I can't remember. It was Keben at the end, but I think he started at left back for Watford, as a player I really like. But it's Pollock, and I can't remember the other centre back's name off the top of my head. It's a difficult job physically dealing with those two at the back. They're big, strong, powerful centre backs, and I think Dykes sort of struggled to get into it. But so had a couple of flick-ons, and as I say, I thought TC actually started the game really, really well. Maybe faded towards the end, but players like that will. But first half, he had the beating of his man, and he knew it, and actually was quite unlucky not to get an assist. So if I sort of say it in that way, it all sounds positive, right? The same problems are there every time we do the show, right, this season, and they will be, I'm almost certain, through the end of this show, until we get to at least the summer period. But we don't have the midfielders that we need to compete week in and week out at this level. We just don't. If you look at we actually created some better chances yesterday, and Watford aren't the greatest defensive side in the division. I think that probably helps. They're confident. They're going to be that sort of on the beach side that you play. I imagine Preston next week might be something quite similar. They'll think that they can beat you because they have better players than you, but because they don't really have much to play for, they don't need to throw their bodies at absolutely everything, and they'll give you a little bit of space, and they're maybe not going to trap back as quickly as they should, and it's that sort of thing that you get from some of those better on the beach sides. But Watford are ninth in the division. I think they might be down 10th now, but they were ninth in the division when we played them for a reason. They're a good side. They're probably slightly underperformed where they wanted to be, but I always said about Watford, it wouldn't surprise me if they finished second. It wouldn't surprise me if they finished 16th. They're just one of those sorts of clubs, right? Ewan Kunda's come in and been marvellous, and Loser is obviously a fantastic player, but there were some questions around some of the signings they made and some of the decisions they've made, and especially in terms of managers and different things. But it's a good club. I know we sort of take the mick at the time. Your song was my dad's first ever record, so hearing that was quite nice, I thought, before kickoff. But that's just a personal thing. I like Watford. I don't have a problem with Watford. I like Vicarage Road. It's a good stadium. It's easy to get to. They're a decent fan base. Can't complain too much. But I don't know. I don't know if maybe it's just that sort of end of the season thing that you get to a point where I jump twice, 3-4 times a week now. There have been times when I've done it 5 times in a week. You just kind of get to a point where I'm a little bit. I don't know. I'm a little bit tired of listening to Nathan Jones after games at this point. I didn't like that post-match press conference at all. I like Nathan Jones, the football manager. I'm very clear that I like the passion. I do like that. I like the odds against them mentality. I don't think tactically he's anywhere near as bad as some people, seem to think. I think that there are issues in terms of squad quality. I think that he has probably overperformed with the squad that he has, if you look at the teams behind us. But the man management at times has been dreadful. And it sounds like we've got another problem with man management going on, which you can all read between the lines about. There was a comment about humility, which I thought was a pretty unnecessary dig in the post-match press conference. He did it again when chatting to Louis after having done the club one, or maybe it was first with Louis and then with the club one. I'm just tired of hearing that he's fallen out with people. I'm a bit tired of the I don't even want to call it ego. I think he himself has got a bit of an ego, but that sort of ego side of it, I'm a bit tired of. The football's not the most exciting thing to watch. I can almost understand that. I'd have problems going into next year for a second year in the Championship, and we're still playing a style that doesn't bring much entertainment. there's not a huge amount of entertainment watching us play. The reason why I've defended Tyrese Campbell, I think, is because he's the only player I feel at times will get me actually out of my seat. Fair play to Sonny Carey does sometimes, but we just seem so fragile behind the scenes at times, and I'm not sure why that is. And I think that probably in the summer promises have been made to players that haven't, come true. I've criticised players for throwing tantrums or looking not interested or having bad performances. I'm not someone who buys into the drama or the psychoanalysis. I don't sit here and pick my favourites that have to play. Um, at least I hope I'm not. I probably have biases like anybody else. We're all football fans. We're all entitled to an opinion. But and on that, just before I finish that point on that, fair play to the away fans at Watford. I thought a number really got behind Tyrese after the scenes on Friday. Fair play to the people in the away end. I thought that was really really good to hear actually. And I think that comment a lot of us made about that chanting, I think probably has sort of seeped through. I think fair play to the away end. I think the away ends have actually been pretty good this year in terms of support, not just in terms of numbers. But I don't know. I don't know how many years of the Nathan Jones train I can do without at some point losing my sanity. um, and maybe, as I say, maybe it's just I've done too much Charlton for a year. I've done quite a few. I've done women's canes. I've done. I just it's just a lot all the time, and I just think we're basically there. We're a point away from getting to the Magic 50. I don't think we're going to struggle to get to the Magic 50. We are sort of elongating it. And I will get to the Matty Gonga in a minute, by the way, because I think it's a positive thing to talk about. But I don't know. I just think that it's too much, for a close season. It's too much for heading into a summer. And I just think the over sort of excited blowing kisses to the crowd thing, and it's just sometimes I think it's too much. Um, and I've always defended Nathan. I think in terms of the football side of it, I think I'll probably continue to defend the football side of it. But I do think that there's going to be some questions about the man management, and there's going to be some real questions about the decision about the summer and who we spend the money on, and where we spend that money, and whether he's got the ability to buy midfielders and forwards. Because I think historically that's been where he just hasn't brought in at times players when they're creative that are good enough. Does giving him three times the amount of money to splash up the wall, does that, will that change it? Are we going to pick the right players? Some of the mentality players he's picked, he's fallen out with. So I don't know. I don't know, and I'd be interested to hear other people's opinions. And as I say, it's just a personal thing. I've had it really since I read about that post match press conference. I received a message from someone I know who's very in the know about this stuff, and I just got to a point where I was just, oh, for God's sakes, not this again. He's fallen out with his captain. He's fallen out with his second most expensive signing. He's now fallen out with somebody else. Is it ever going to end? And for every Amari Bell, you have a Rob Apter, right? In terms of that, and I was critical of the way that Rob acted. I was very critical of the way the social media stuff happened, but I need to be honest in terms of that stuff, because it's a bit wearing, right, after a while. And there's a part of me that goes, I understand maybe why Stoke fans got to the point they got to. I didn't really actually that stuck as long as he was. They kept him on longer than I thought they did. And they just got to a point they just couldn't bear it anymore, right? And I worry that with this ownership group, I think they're cutthroat in a lot of ways, but I think that they're very what's the word? I can see the word on top of my head. Welcome to a live show, everybody. No, they keep faith in the people that they hire. A lot of the time, they probably hold on to some people for too long. And my worry is, if we start next year really really badly or something like that, are they going to be are they going to have too much loyalty, or are they going to be willing to make those sort of difficult decisions? And we won't find that out, I think, about this ownership team until a moment like that arrives. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we end up flying up the leagues and all the rest of it, and the new eighth place playoff team, and it all goes well. But I do have my questions, and I want to be honest about that. It's probably the first time that I've really felt that was. I thought Friday I felt it a little bit. I'd watched that warm up. I didn't like it. I think I felt it a little bit on Saturday when I was sort of reflecting on the game, and then I really felt it Monday. Sort of both leaving the game, reading the press conference, and then listening to some of the stuff. It got too much for me. I think on Monday, and I just needed to, to almost shut it off today and go back to work. Try not to think too much about it, which is bad because I do a podcast, so I end up thinking about Charlton a lot of my time. But let's just talk about really quickly before I come and chat to you guys just for a little bit. And I'm assuming most people want to get off the Wrexham Southampton game in a little bit. Matt Godden, right? It's great to see him get his first goal in the Championship for us. Lovely finish, very Matty Godden. From another long throw, another set piece. We can't seem to score from open play, but if we're scoring from set pieces, we can look at what Arsenal are doing. Good throw from Harry Clark. I think it came Ramsey with a lovely little flick on. Matty Godden does what Matty Godden does. Somehow ends up in the middle of the goal with acres of space. That's what Matty Godden does, doesn't it? Just smack it in the corner. Would I give him a year extension? Let's see at the end of the year. I think if he stays fit, I think it's worth holding on to a player like that. I don't think he's someone that's necessarily reliant on his pace or his athleticism anyway. So I think he's someone that actually could be quite useful to you, even as he ages. I think he brings some experience to the front line. I think he plays well off of Dykes. I think they play well off each other. I think the movement is something you do notice when he's the one playing up front. He's moving around constantly. We don't move around enough. And you hope that if we are going to sort of keep on with the Callum thing, you hope that that's something he can take off him. But it was good to see him get a goal. He's a good guy, Matty Godden. He seems like a really, really nice chap as well. He's someone you want to do well, and very, very egoless. Someone that just wants to do well for the team, and as I say, childhood Charlton fan, right? Like any of us, scoring the value is really important to him, and long may that continue for as long as it may last. And then just the last thing I was going to bring up was I was actually quite impressed with February again when he came on. I still see a player in there, as I say. I'll keep banging on until cows come home with the cost of that transfer. It's me sending them Cantor Olafe and they send me back February on a permanent. Yeah, I'll make that deal. I'd be very happy to make that deal. I don't know what the cost value is, but there's a player in there. There's a real player in there, and he can really take a corner, which I did not know. And then finally, JRC, who I think actually adds a lot of dynamism to the midfield when he plays. He should have done better with the chance. He slips. He takes one extra touch, but he's the only player on the break. I don't know if noticed, the only player on the break who seems to be getting into that position. He waits on the last line of the defence almost like a striker. I can see why he didn't really have a position at Blackburn, because he does a lot of individual things that work in different positions across the pitch. But he's someone, I think, if you get yourself a really physical, tactically adroit sort of number 6, I really think he adds a lot of dynamism to the way we play, and I think he can help sort of stitch that defence and attack together, which is something at the moment we just can't do. It ends up being a great save. I think it's Selvik, because the Watford keeper's a good keeper, but it ends up being a great save from him, because even though JLC sort of slips, the ball sort of bobbles right before it hits Selvik's hand, and he just about gets his wrist up in the air and keeps it out. It's a really good save, actually, from very close range. As I sort of said on Corley Substack, that very much was a game to me where on a different day the team takes their chances and someone wins it, but actually a draw is probably a reasonably fair result. I think that Watford took a lot of shots that probably were on target, but you'd be annoyed if your keeper didn't save them. He's going to have to prove that many, because everyone's now going to shoot from 25 yards. He's going to have to prove he can save them. That's the only way we're going to stop that from happening, because it's very clear, according to Nathan Jones, that he will be the keeper for at least the rest of the season. We'll have to see in the summer. But if you can't read between the lines on this and you're someone that's listening, I'm not sure what to tell you. But yeah, it was it was a good point. It was a good point at Vicarage Road. Look, got Preston on the weekend. They're on the beach. Terry Small's coming down, which was a bit of a thing. I'm not going to sing the "you're greedy." You know what? I don't think he was. I think he went for a lot of different reasons. It's a player I really would like to have kept hold of. I think there's some talent in there. I think we missed him when Josh Edwards got injured. I think actually would have played really well off James Bree. But I hope we are where we are. He's at Preston. I say they've got Osmajic up front. They've got what's his name on you've got Alfie Devine from Tottenham in is Devine, isn't it, from Tottenham in midfield. They've got Harrison Armstrong from Everton. They've got Offia, who we tried to sign in the summer, and then they signed Sebas. They've got Everson in goal, one of their keepers in the division. So, a bit difficult game. They always are, really. But they're a team that, look, you're a win away. You're really 2 points away. The point yesterday means, look, if you were to draw at Preston, then even drop points at Hillsbury, still basically there. A 49 should be enough. I think Luton went down on 48 last year. Was it 48? Maybe it was 49, but with goal difference, our goal difference is good enough that we should be fine, even if we weren't to win anything. And we had loads of teams on 49 points. I don't think that's going to happen anyway. I think probably 47 will keep you up, looking at the teams around in their form. But yeah, we can start to look forward to next year. I apologise if people are expecting a really upbeat show today after a point of Vicarage Road, because somebody offered me 4 points from Watford start of the season. I've been delighted. I don't know why I am. It's not the football performances that annoy me. I feel culturally a little bit removed from the club at the moment, and maybe that's just me. Maybe I need a summer break, and I just need to step away for a couple of weeks once the season ends. But we'll see what happens. Let's say to a few people. I know Sam was here because I saw him earlier. Evening, Sam. How you doing? So take a point from yesterday. What a difference Cody makes in the size race Sunday. It's just the physical bit of it, really, with Cody. And he's saying hopefully Cody won't be out for too long on this Saturday. Fingers crossed. I wonder if there's some sort of payment thing in there with Cody, where it's if he plays a certain number, we have to pay an extra 200 grand or something. Because it's weird that he just hasn't even gotten an appearance. Doesn't really make sense to me. Yeah, I mean, the first thing he does, he looks wide, so the pitch looks wider. He doesn't play many stupid balls. He's got a nice weighted pass on him. The ball's sort of mostly going forward. He does well to sort of dovetail with Lloyd Jones, which allows Cam Rams to step a little bit higher. Almost plays a hybrid right back. There's a lot of things that Cody does that probably go unnoticed, that aren't quite him barking at people. But he's a player that I really, really like. I don't think the money works in any meaningful sense for him to stay here next season. But I think it shows the value of getting another 6 in. I think having Coventry as a squad player will make a lot more sense. And everyone knows how I feel about Connor Coventry. We're saying it looks fine on my end. That's good. Watford reached in the players for that squad. They should be. They've definitely underperformed, but it's difficult. Paul saying, evening, Callum. I'm not saying you can't tease with the private info and not share. I basically have shared it. I basically haven't shared it. If you really want to know, I've got 4 players now. T-shirt, tissue, we all fall down. Well, not a number 1 seems to. If anyone believes that that to actually be true, that is. It's yeah, and then to be fair, Arnold, if you want the answer, Sam's comment from 741 is basically what I've heard is that that's what's happened. There's been a big fallout. I tried to follow from Sparrow's Canteen on Thursday. I dare you to try it, Paul. I dare you to try it. He's at the community trust, friends of the community trust. He's won a trip to Sparrow's Lane. I should have given you a shirt to get signed, mate, just for a laugh. But no, yeah, he's over there. I dare you to fake fall just for the laugh. You'll never be invited again. So they should give him a contract extension. Crosby, who was this in reference to? And then Goddess's instincts that CK hasn't. You can teach by where to. Oh, they should give Godden a contract extension. Yeah, Crosby. I really think so. I think it's your first comment. Welcome aboard. But yeah, I absolutely think so. I think that there's some value in that experience. I think it's pretty obvious that Berry's going to depart. I've made it very clear that I think probably Cambridge would be would be the smart place for him to go and do the last couple of years, maybe last year or two of his career, if that's what he wants to do. Cambridge obviously looking good odds on to go up to League One, which where I think probably is Barry's level at this point with where he is. And then, as I say, you bring in his former Luton mate to replace him. But I think that Paul's absolutely right here. So God has his instance to come and hasn't. You can teach a player where to run in position to take up, but it doesn't come naturally. Things become a bit mechanical. It's exactly that. I think that we're actually really going to struggle because there's not many of them around that do that for a Godden. They do that like a Godden, sorry. I think that he's just the sort of player that it just comes naturally in a way that I think either it does or it doesn't. I think that it's probably the thing that's missing from Miles' game. I think he's a willing player. I just don't think he has that killer instinct. And you can have all the physical gifts in the world sometimes, but sometimes it can come quite late in a player's career. Though you do see it happen where players sort of add it towards the end. Or they hit a rich run of form and all of a sudden they can do it, because that was sort of Miles when he was coming through. But I don't look at any of those strikers. Maybe Dykes is a bit of an exception, but I think he's a different type of player to that. I think the sniffer dog sort of title I think is actually pretty apt. There's an ability. We did the Messi thing on Monday, where he just stopped and the game kind of kept going, and all of a sudden he's wide open in the middle there and no one's around him. He's onside. That's a skill. Like, there's a skill in being able to just stop and let the game happen around you. And I think that if that's how you're going to score a lot of your goals, it doesn't really matter if you're 34 or 35, because you're not relying on anything other than your ability to finish. I think he's actually quite a willing runner in terms of taking a whack from someone trying to win a header. He does sometimes try to win headers that don't make much sense. But I think he's someone that likes to really get involved with that sort of that battling piece. And I think as a fan, it's good to watch someone really sort of battle for the shirt in that way. Well, I'm going to call it here. I'm going to go and watch Wrexham Southampton. Come on, Southampton. Not for reasons. But yeah, I'm gonna go watch Wrexham Southampton. Sure, some of you guys want to as well. You want to go watch the Champions League. But yeah, thanks for coming in. As I say, I've been on the Chronicles. I think it's tomorrow. That's a double check. But yeah, thanks for joining me and reflecting on what's a good point at Vicarage Road. And I'm sure we'll talk more about the Nathan stuff and the club and all that as we sort of reach the summer. But 49 points, good goal difference. That should be enough. But I think it's going to be nice to get one more to get to the magic 50. I think would definitely do it. 51, 52, and we're there. Right. I will speak to you all later. Have a good rest of your evening. Bye for now.